inside of it and then use that to smoke it. And they could put other things in there as well. Some people put extra wax around the blunt. Some people will put cocaine in there. It just depends what they're using as well. But we also see it, they now make them in gummies or edibles. So cereals can be an edible. It could also become in drinks. So now they make THC drinks where they drink like, so it's like a tea, or sometimes they make it in different kinds of forms. But now you can drink THC itself, and that can get you high alone. So I want to talk about a little bit what marijuana we're seeing nowadays for both the medical community and mental health. So marijuana is legal for use of anybody of any age over the age of 21. And that could be just because you want to try it, just because you like using it. But for those under 21, it is still illegal. So a lot of teenagers do not know. They see that, oh, it's legal in California, it's okay for me to use. No, it's still illegal for teenagers, anybody under the age of 21, 18 if you have a prescription. So the medical benefits of marijuana are actually very popular. So marijuana can be prescribed to patients with cancer, patients undergoing major surgeries, patients that have very chronic pain. They do prescribe that because they do see there is research that marijuana helps kind of slow down the cancer cells. It provides relief. It doesn't make people feel as nauseous that are going to chemo treatment. So there are good medical benefits to it. There are uses of marijuana in the medical community. At the same time, mental health is a big one that we're seeing, and kind of why teenagers are starting to use marijuana. A lot of our teenagers that come into the center, they start using marijuana. First, it's just to experiment or because their friends are using. But then we notice that there's something maybe underlying going on. A lot of what we're seeing is self-esteem. We're seeing depression, we're seeing anxiety, we're seeing stress, home stress, school stress. That's a lot of the reason why teenagers tend to use marijuana. It's because it's a relief for them. It provides them a short-term relief. However, what we do talk about with our clients is like once that relief is gone, once you are no longer high, the problems are still there. And so there's also a misunderstanding that marijuana is addictive. Marijuana does not have an addictive chemical or component compared to opioids, compared to cocaine, alcohol, things like that. It does activate receptors of dopamine in the brain, but it doesn't have an addictive chemical, meaning that you can't stop using it. It won't be as difficult, but that doesn't mean that you're not dependent on it. Your body does become used to that feeling of being high. It does get used to being able to sleep properly, eating more. So your body does adapt to the changes that what marijuana makes you do, but it's not addictive. So that's something that we like to tell clients too, or we like to let parents know it's not an addictive chemical, but you can become dependent on it. So there's a little bit of a difference there. What we're also seeing too is clients misusing marijuana or using it mainly to, I would say, to focus or to say that like, oh, it makes me focus on school or it doesn't make me anxious at school. However, they sometimes get more anxious afterwards. And a lot of the times they don't understand how much they're smoking. So with the wax or this one right here, the pen, this is typically around maybe up to 90% THC, which is very, very high levels of THC in comparison to just the flower. So just smoking regular flower, that could be 30 to 40% potency of THC. Now you have the pure method, and this actually makes them a lot higher. So when they start smoking off with wax instead of just even the flower, we are starting to notice that they are experiencing greater hallucinations. Their heartbeat gets really fast. They also start to be a little bit more anxious or more fidgety or more paranoid. We have also noticed clients who have underlying conditions who never knew that they had underlying conditions. So clients who have maybe a history or family history or genetic history of schizophrenia, paranoia, psychosis, they actually do start to experience those symptoms even when they stop smoking. So if they didn't know that they had an underlying mental health condition, wax and marijuana will definitely be a little bit more, will bring that out. So it makes it a lot difficult for them to kind of quit using as well. But the paranoia is a big one for our clients. That's one symptom that we're starting to hear a lot more often, that clients are more anxious on marijuana, they're a little bit more fidgety, they think that everybody knows that they're high. And most of the times we do know when they do come to our center that it is high. Marijuana has also changed a lot in the last few years. In the last decade alone, before we used to see a lot more just marijuana plants being sold. Now we see a little bit of everything being sold. A lot of that has to do with the market in California legalizing marijuana. Once they said it was recreational and it was good for people to use, we started seeing the cannabis industry still coming up. However, that doesn't mean that every cannabis product is regulated by the FDA. There's still a lot of products that are still coming out that the FDA doesn't really overlook, or they kind of just they don't have a lot of information on it. And every dispensary is different. Every dispensary has their own methods. It also is important to note that now carrying marijuana is not illegal for those over 21, but up to a certain gram. I believe it's 28 grams is about the legal limit for marijuana use for those over 21. For those under 21 or under 18, it could be a misdemeanor. And if they're selling it, it could be another legal offense for their probation officers. So we have had clients that have been caught selling marijuana and then they get on probation because of it. So they do face misdemeanor charges, they have to do community service, it can lead to other legal things. So that's something that we are seeing. I also want to talk about these different kinds of hybrid strains, because a lot of times our clients think that we don't know what this is, but it's important for parents to know what it is too. So the marijuana plant has three different strains of marijuana. There's sativa, indica, and hybrid. Each one of these has different uses, or it feels different to everybody's body. Sativa, everybody calls this a productivity high. So it makes them feel a little bit more alert, makes them want to do more stuff, makes them want to, go outside, be creative. Indica is typically what we see when people want to sleep or need help sleeping, or people with insomnia. They will get prescribed even indica cannabis because it helps them sleep and it helps them go into a deeper night sleep. And now we have hybrid. So now that they're mixing they're mixing the plants together, these strains can be combined and they have different effects on different people. But it ultimately just depends on the user and how much they're using. We've also seen with edibles, so this one right here, gummies, cereal bars, what else have I seen? Chips that have marijuana. These last in somebody's system for up to 4 hours. So clients and teenagers don't know that one little gummy could usually be about 10 milligrams of THC, which is very, very strong, because once THC is cooked and melted and absorbed into those gummies, it makes the potency a lot stronger. So it's not just only 10 milligrams, it's going to be a lot stronger. We've seen our clients throw up from edibles because they just get really high, they don't feel good, they feel really dizzy, they can't breathe, they can't handle the effects. So throwing up is a common one. There's another term that they're using nowadays too, teenagers, they call it greening out, which means they just pass out from using too much marijuana. They can't control their system, it's too much for them. It really is a strong high and they're not used to it. So typically what we tell clients, if they are going to use edibles, that they only use maybe half of one, or even just take one and wait a few hours, because they're not going to feel it within 1 hour. Sometimes they don't even feel it in the second hour. But when hour 3, hour 4 hits, that's when we see the greatest potency effects. And that's when we see clients not feeling good. They do throw up. They start having extreme paranoia, extreme anxiety. They have trouble breathing, or they feel like they're not breathing. So it's really, really hard for them to control those highs. So the edibles are ones that we're seeing that are becoming a lot stronger. Let me see. So like I mentioned, you can become addicted to marijuana, but you can become dependent on it. And a lot of people that start using this marijuana before the age of 18 do become dependent. Even adults that start to use it themselves become dependent on it. And that's just because your body gets used to the feelings and the sensations that marijuana produces. It's really difficult once you stop. And a lot of people, they say that there's no withdrawal symptoms, but you do have a little bit of withdrawal symptoms with marijuana. The two biggest ones that we hear from clients is one, they can't sleep. So if your child stops using marijuana or they get their stuff taken away, then they will be up all hours of the night because they cannot sleep. Their bodies has become used to relying on marijuana to go to sleep. So that's one. And the other one is appetite. Marijuana makes you very, very hungry and you'll eat a lot more. Once you stop using marijuana, then you're less likely to eat. Nothing really tastes as good. You get hungry a little, or you get full a little bit faster. But it just depends on the client system. However, these symptoms only last for 2 weeks. And the first 2 weeks of teenagers stopping marijuana are usually the hardest for them because they're transitioning out of those kind of symptoms and they don't feel the best. So we do see that one a lot common. So it just really depends. And like I mentioned, it is still illegal at the federal level. So at the federal level, clients don't know this. It's illegal outside of California for recreational use. If you go to a different state and they don't have California laws, you can get arrested and even face felony charges in a different state. This also includes crossing the border. So what we have clients that happen is that they will take their marijuana, they'll take their wax pen, they hide it really well. Different ways that we see clients hide marijuana is like girls will put it on their sides of their bras. They will put it in their shoes and their socks. They put it in any purse. They'll cut holes in their bags. They'll cut holes in their purses, their backpacks. The boys too. The boys will hide it in their belt, in their belts, or they'll try to put it inside of their jeans. But there's different ways for them to hide it. However, whenever they cross back from Tijuana or they're crossing the border at all, if they do get caught with it, they will face felony charges. And depending on which side they brought it in, they could face even greater ones. I did have a client one time that I believe had marijuana in the car, crossed into Tijuana, and was pulled over by Tijuana Border Patrol. And they had to stay overnight in jail for about like 3 to 5 days before they were able to let go. And I believe now they're still facing charges in Tijuana. So it's really dependent on like which way you're crossing to. So clients feel like, oh, I'm not going to get caught. I'm not going to get, no one's going to know that I have marijuana, or it's legal, it's fine. There's still major repercussions of it. And it really just depends on how much they're carrying too. So it really works. I also do have some tips for teens. I also printed out some handouts for you guys to take on how to talk to your child about using marijuana. The biggest misconception that teenagers don't understand is that, again, they feel like, oh, marijuana is used in the medical community. It's like, yes, but at the same time, it still exacerbates mental health symptoms. What we do notice a lot too, COVID took a big hit on our teenagers. And that made them feel very stressed out. They made them feel very alone. They didn't feel like they didn't have anybody to talk to. So marijuana is typically an outlet for them. They usually self-medicate. And that's the number one thing that we talk to our clients about who are just solely using marijuana, is how to slowly develop their own self-esteem, how to set boundaries, how to tell their friends no, and also developing a relationship with their parents. Communication is funny because we were locked in together for all of COVID, but I think at the same time now we don't talk to each other because of that. So I think that's also a big thing, is continuing having to have open discussions with your teenager about marijuana use, what could happen if they use long term. They could still lose a lot of IQ points at this age because our brain stops developing at age 25. If they use marijuana on a daily basis throughout the day, however much they're using, they could lose up to 8 IQ points. It can affect their memory. So even though they say, oh, it helps me focus in school, a lot of times they will not remember a lot of things that happen in school, or they just have little blank spots in their memory. It can affect their motor skills, their learning abilities. So it just affects the different kinds of mental health and also neurological developmental abilities as well. Mental health is also the biggest one. I think we're starting to see more clients needing mental health and seeking therapy and being able to develop these skills on their own and being able to have strong support systems. Because we know that a lot of their friends do it. They think it's like, oh, okay, so my friends can do it. It's fine. Nothing happens to them. Or their parents allow it. We don't see a lot of success with them. They do still struggle with school. They can get into legal problems. They have difficulty finding jobs. A lot more jobs are drug testing for marijuana as well. So it just depends. But That is all I have for you. If anybody has any questions.
Questions in the
Preguntas.
chat.
Yeah, my number and my information are up here in case anybody's interested in receiving services. I am also the counselor here at Sweetwater, so I have been starting to meet with clients here at the school. We're typically doing more early intervention services, so starting that, like if they use marijuana, if they use nicotine 1 or 2 times, they're not actively using daily. I meet with them and we do an assessment. The first session is an assessment, and then 3 more sessions to determine if they're going to continue using or if they're able to kind of minimize their use and able to refrain from further substance use. So that way we can get that early intervention part. They have somebody to go to. And I have a lot of referrals if you are interested in any outside agencies, agencies for mental health, agencies for family services, housing. I connect them with a bunch of different kinds of resources in San Diego. Yeah. Any questions?
Si es correcto lo que voy a decir, pero he escuchado que en España están poniendo la marihuana y no sé si realmente en la escuela se están como a los alumnos que sospechen que están haciendo este tipo de actividades.
So the question is that parents are hearing that children are smoking in the bathrooms now. They're wondering about schools' method of like intervening and if they drug test.
Yes, that's a very good question, right? So that's a question that I would actually, refer that to the administration. I know they're doing the best they can under the resources that we have here at Sweetwater High School. As you know, Sweetwater High School is a very big school compared to other schools like National City Middle School, Ranger. And we also have a limited number of staff also. With that being said, the size of the school also can make it difficult for us to kind of supervise every single corner. But as far as a bathroom, it is supervised during efficient break and lunchtime. The job makes it difficult because now they're allowed to sort of vaping too. So you can vape one and the smoke kind of disappear, right? And there's no smell on it, right? So the detection bit is a lot more difficult these days, right? So as far as the behavior and discipline policy when it comes to using of marijuana, I feel more comfortable referring that to the APs or the assistant principals or admins. You can ask that question during chat with the principal that they have every single quarter. You know what I mean? Like the last one was yesterday. So that was a good question to bring up to that environment.
If I could add something to that, Mr. Chen, because this question did come up at our last meeting, and so although as a school we can't do random tests and checks, we were informed by Ms. Matt that McAlister does offer for parents a $25 cash for a marijuana test, which the results will be available in 5 minutes. And so if parents need help connecting with Ms. Vidmat, they could come see their school counselor so that we could submit a referral so that you can have that support if you were concerned and you have suspicion that your child is using some kind of substance. The other thing I did want to add is that although the school doesn't do random searches, if they suspect that a student is in the bathroom, the administration has explained to us that they will go ahead and be able to, and they suspect the students under the influence, they will be able to do a search in their belongings to see if they find evidence that they're using, and of course immediately contact the parent and deal with the consequences that would be necessary in that situation.
But, I also want to add on to that too. As a school official, whether it's counselor or teachers or admin, whatever it is, I feel like we're doing the best we can, right, under the circumstances given to us. That's why these presentations is so valuable to empower the parents, as a tool for lessons at home also. because I truly believe it's us working together to achieve these common goals that we want, right, for our students and our sons and daughters. So with that being said, this is, again, I have to say, as a counselor for many years, and listening to numerous presentations about drugs, right, regardless of what it is, but in the last few years, or maybe the last 5 years or 10 years, a lot of things has changed, right? As far as like the fentanyl issues, right? That wasn't part of our vocabulary 10 years ago, for example, right? But also the legalization of marijuana, the use of it, how they're using it, the legalization of it, right? The dispensaries out there, right? The type of marijuana, the impact it has. That listening to that in the back of the room is kind of like, wow, even for me, it's very informative. So with that information, how I will choose to move forward as a counselor or even parents myself at home. So I do, appreciate Ms. Bernal being out here, for numerous times already, and we'll probably invite her again next year as we continue on. But again, these are valuable information that we can take, to better educate our students. Okay.
Yeah, we do random drug testing at our center, so all our clients are randomly drug tested. But also, if you have concerns if your child is using, you can come into our center. Our drug tests are $25. We can also test for nicotine as well, so we can try to see if they're using nicotine. And if you have, or if you find stuff in your child's things that you don't know if it's nicotine, if it's marijuana, you can bring those into our center, and we can explain to you what they are, what to look for, and we can even dispose of them. So that way you don't have to take them home and have them around other kids. So that's also something that I do want to mention too. It's like we've had times or instances that parents don't realize that their children leave their wax pens around or their nicotine pens around, and other people can get to it, whether it's their other children, whether it's nieces, nephews, grandchildren, pets. It could harm them as well, and it could be dangerous, especially the gummies and the edibles. They look like candy, and if a younger child is around it and they see it, they're going to take it, and that could be an emergency room visit. So we do try to let parents be aware. But if you do have any questions, or if you don't know whether or not something is an edible or if it's CBD versus THC, you can bring them into our center and we can go ahead and look at it and explain it to you what it is. So that way it's not around in the family, and it also saves you as well.
Are there any other questions?
Any other questions?
All right.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, once again, this is our final and last chat with the counselor for this year. We're hoping that we'll continue the service again next year as we plan for our calendar, our things that we need to do as far as our department is concerned. So again, these are your counselors here as we go to high school, and this is also on our website also, right? And the reason why we kind of show this every single time we have a presentation, because I'll be very frank with you, as a school counselor at this size of a school counselor, I can speak for myself, right? I cannot do this job by myself. I need your help and your communication. By us working together, we can get through helping your students go through the process of earning high school diploma and post-secondary options. Again, you can email us using Jupiter, superschools.net email, our phone number. So there's different ways that you can communicate with us. As a rule of thumb, you can never over-communicate with us, okay? Again, once again, we're here to help, students navigate through the high school career and transition from middle school to high school. It is a different environment. You're working with, a much smaller school, let's say 600 kids over the middle school. When you walk into the high school, you're looking at about anywhere between 24 to 2,600 students here at SUHi High School. So part of our job is to help the families and students navigate through the 4 years of high school. Again, access communication. You can never over communicate with us. Jupiter, phone call, emails. Okay. I'm finding out that a lot of teachers like to communicate through Jupiter. You can use that format too. As counselors, we also have Jupiter accounts as well. Okay. So with that being said, again, you can communicate with us multiple ways. I feel that sometimes communicating with a teacher using the Jupiter is also an effective way also. right? Because I feel like a lot more teachers are using Jupiter as a form of communication with family and students. Again, academic support. We're here to provide academic support to the student earning a high school diploma. It's not like the middle school. In the middle school, I'll be very honest with you, it's called a promotion ceremony for a reason. Because it doesn't matter how well the kid does in middle school, they have a perfect attendance, have straight A's or straight F. They're going to be socially promoted to high school. If a kid is doing well in the middle school, chances are they're going to do well in high school. If they're not doing well in the middle school, then they're going to be at risk coming into high school. Because unlike the middle school, there does exist a high school graduation requirement set forth by the state of California and our school district. It means passing certain classes, having community service hours, even beyond even the concept of PE. I still have kids, seniors, and they need to take a PE class in order to meet the graduation requirement because it's failed in ninth grade. Because you know what they tell me? They tell me, Mr. Strand, I didn't think that's part of the graduation requirement. I've had some kids who actually recently, I took them to a student yesterday, in a sense that, I talked to her about her next year's schedule. And they told me, Mr. Tran, I know I didn't do well in ninth grade. I'm in the middle of my 10th grade year now. I'm doing well better this semester. And I asked her why. What is it? You didn't do so well in middle school. You didn't do well so much in ninth grade. But all of a sudden, you're almost like a born-again student. I said, what was the difference? It's because I made that conscious decision because it was my peers, it was my friends, it was my social influences that impacted me. So with that being said, it impacts you not only academically, but what you do in the bathroom, out in the hallway, out in the streets. So peer pressure is strong, unfortunately, right? College career, that's another thing that we do also, part of our job, is to help kids move forward where their post-secondary options, whether it's a workforce, the military, the college, university, whether it's community college, apprenticeship program, or for university. Financial aid also helping students to get money in order to move into higher education. Money, to a certain degree, should not be the reason why it stops the students from moving on to higher education, whether it's community college, vocational technical school, or for university. Every year also, we do lesson plan with the students. So we're in the classroom, or the kids coming here, once every year in certain grade level, right? And there's certain lessons that we give them. And these are just some examples: the 6-year plan, the career exploration, the post-secondary exploration, and also the senior check, in August of their senior year. We also do what's called social emotional counseling. I mean, the social emotional aspect of it, it's got really more intense for us and a lot more for us, right? Working with kids on the social emotional aspect of it. We do have a wellness room here that we provide to the students when they come in. If they need maybe a 15 minutes, just a little time out for themselves, right? To gather themselves, and for the most part, it makes them feel better. They move back into the classroom. So those are the 3 components as school counselors, what we do. SUHiCounseling.com. This is a valuable website. It has a lot of information on there that help guide the students and the parents into, information about what they need when it comes to high school graduation requirement and how to contact us, for example. Another thing also that I want to bring up, or a few other things that I want to bring up also as a reminder, progress report again is due April 19th for seniors. Seniors, very important to monitor that progress report because that's going to be the last one that they're going to receive moving to the graduation ceremony. Not all seniors are going to be flying through colors. I mean, they're going to be okay, right? There's a few seniors that I know of that I'm working with to monitor that progress report, making sure they pass the required classes for graduation. I'll monitor that on our end, but please, as parents also, for the underclassmen and for the seniors, monitor that. Okay, it's on our school website. The FAFSA and the CATA deadline has been extended to May 2nd. May 2nd for all students. You still have time. If students are asking for help, they can come before school, during lunchtime, or after school for assistance, right? And also for parents as well. The mixed status families, you can still submit the application for financial aid. You just have to use the CATA, the CATA website to fill out the application for FAFSA. Senior scholarships. Senior scholarship, I'm been informed that there's still money available. The question comes into play, well, Mr. Tran, how do I access the scholarship? Well, SUHiCounseling.com. There's a tab on the top that tells you scholarship. Click on that, and it'll pull out, the scholarships that are available for students. It still applies. So it's not too late. Just visit the SUHiCounseling.com under the scholarship tab, please. There's still money. ASB, last thing, ASB has sent out notification recently for seniors regarding senior activities, right? Regarding also when to pick graduation ceremony. We're gonna have 2 graduation ceremony, one at 3:00 and one at 6:00. An email was sent out by our ASB dean for the family to pick which one is best for them. Okay. Lastly, it's not on here, but there's some seniors who have been asking me, Mr. Tran, am I on the non-senior privilege list? Right? I'll be very honest with you. We don't monitor that list. It comes from the admin, Mr. Joe Latta. I will refer that to the assistant principal who monitors the attendance. So again, that's based on not necessarily the academic side of it, but their attendance. They have good attendance in order to participate in senior activities. It does not apply to the underclassmen, but for the seniors. Okay, with that being said, colleague counselors, or anything else that I need to add?
I just want to repeat what Mr. Tran said about grades. I tell students to log into their Jupiter grades at least once a week to kind of see what their grades look like. I would advise you to do the same at least once a week, not every day, because if you do it every day, the kid's going to stop listening to you. Okay. But my advice has always been on Friday afternoon, and your kid knows every Friday afternoon, you're going to check grades. If grades look good, then they get their allowance, they get their money, they get to go out for the weekend. Cool. But if the grades look bad, then they don't go out, they don't get their money or whatever. And that becomes a routine. So then they know. Because a lot of times parents will say, oh, I haven't heard anything for months. Well, yeah, you're not going to hear anything because you need to check it. And now that we have the internet and Jupiter grades, you can check it anytime you want. It's not like back in the day where the kids would come home with a piece of paper. We don't do that anymore. You can check grades at any time. So it's up to you when you want to do that progress report on your student, right? So that would be my advice, because we have a lot of students who are really struggling academically. And then when we call home, parents say they didn't know. Oh, no one told me. Well, yeah, we're not going to tell you because everything's online. Like, you can check. And if you look at it, then you have questions, then you can reach out to us and we can help you figure out what needs to be done in regards to grades. But when parents say, no one ever told me, the truth is we're not going to tell you because everything's online. You can tell yourself anytime you want to. But if you have questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to us and we can connect you with the teachers. We can meet with you and your student to come up with a game plan. We can do all of that, but please at least check your students' grades at least once a week.
Thank you so much for that. With that being said, Jupiter grade, you know how progress report comes out every 6 months? 6 weeks, right? 6 weeks, right? Well, it may be too late for you to find that out. So with Jupiter grade, the teachers update that. I'll be honest, you don't update it every single day, but they definitely update it every single week. So looking at Jupiter grade gives you a good snapshot of what that grade looks like, missing assignment, homework, and tests and quiz, how well they score, right? So it gives you a good snapshot, to address it to the students, right? Also, what I want to also mention is that attendance is vital. Attendance is so important. If a kid's absent or tardy, you should be getting a phone call, right? Roughly about 5 o'clock, 5:30, somewhere around there. That triggers you, hey, your son was absent for that day or that period. But you dropped the kid off. Well, something happened. That's something, again, you need to address that at the moment and not let it sit around. You should hear from the school one way or the other, one format to the other, whether it's attendance, by phone call, by email, all that stuff. I do have to apologize. There may be a lot of information that comes through emails and text message, right? It's coming from a teacher. It's coming from our department. It's coming from an admin. It even comes from the district office. So with that being said, unfortunately, as a parent, having our kids in middle school and high school, you kind of have to condition yourself to filter out what's relevant to you at that moment and not just delete it or don't read it. Okay? Yes?
I just have other updates to add. Other additional updates that I think are important, if you have a senior and they have applied to universities, there is an intent to enroll deadline that's coming up in May that they need to make sure that they notify the schools that they are planning on attending. Otherwise, that admissions decision doesn't mean anything, okay? If they're planning on going to a community college, that application is open, it doesn't close. So they can still do that and they can come and work with their counselor if they need help. We have a lot of students today that are on a field trip to Southwestern College. We have Southwestern College representatives that are here that can help with those applications. If you have an underclassman, so 9 through 11, and they failed a class or they got a D and they want to improve that grade, summer school is now open for registration. So you can go into the Infinite Campus to sign them up, or you can contact the counselor. The counselor can go ahead and do that for you as well. Okay, summer school will be 3 weeks, starting on
June 10th
June 10th.
to June 28th.
And we can make up 2 credits in summer school. It would be here at Sweetwater.
Thank you. With that being said, are there any other questions before we close?
Sí, tengo una. Mi hija me llegó una aplicación para la vez. Ella fue rechazada de tal vez ella, we got her fill out the application for, she said the for scholarship, I'm not sure if it's a scholarship or FAFSA or, but it looks like he was denied because they're paying for a home. No sé si ella dio realmente la información. I'm not sure if she provided the correct information or income.
So I'm assuming it's a financial aid question or scholarship question.
Ella me dijo que no había cash. She said that she didn't.
Or, okay. So for financial aid, can you,
So if it's a scholarship your child applied to, then there is a possibility that they did not receive the scholarship based on your income. So that's scholarships, because there are thousands of scholarships. You apply for scholarships, there's an application, and you may or may not receive a scholarship. Now, when it comes to the FAFSA or the CADA, the federal or the government money that's there to support your child to go to school, there's not really a denied or an accept. Okay, everyone is eligible for financial aid. It just depends how much and what kind of financial aid you're going to get. So when you do get a response from the FAFSA or the CADA, it's not going to say accepted or denied. It's going to give you an amount of how much financial aid you're going to get in free money, which is grants, the amount of money in loans that you borrow, or the amount of money for work study that your child would work on campus to earn money towards their tuition. So you'll get a response depending on how much money in those 3 different areas you'll get, but it's not accept or denied. You'll get an amount of money you're going to receive in those 3 different areas. And it's not FAFSA or CADA who will tell you whether you were accepted or denied. It's the school your child plans on attending. And it's the school that your child, the schools that your child listed on their FAFSA or CADA that's going to respond to you on how much financial aid you're going to receive. It can get a little complicated. It can get a little confusing. And I understand. I mean, we see it all the time, so we understand it. But as a parent, it can be very overwhelming. It can be very confusing on how the whole financial aid process works. So if you have questions, I would advise for you to make an appointment with your child's counselor so we can look over all of the communication that you received and we can explain what all that means, because it can be overwhelming. Go ahead.
thank you.
There's a question in the online chat. Can 11th graders do their voluntary hours in the summer?
The answer is yes. They can start doing it over the summer. They can do it now. They can actually do it anytime in their high school career, right? I believe for the junior through to senior year, the community service hours has gone up to 30 hours of community service. It was modified in the past few years because of COVID, but now that we're out of COVID, the district is going back to 30 hours of community service for graduating students. As far as, again, community service hours, they can start in ninth grade.
Do the verification form or just carry mine?
The verification form is actually right here, right? You can pick this up. It's also on the website. It's also in the classroom of the social science teacher, like the world history, the U.S. history, the government economics. The teachers have this in their office, in their classroom as well. We have it here in the front of the counseling office as well. This is a form that needs to be filled out and submitted to the social science teacher. The social science teacher verifies that, and they're the only people that can input that information into our student database. As counselors, we can only view. We can't adjust or add or take away hours. We can only view the community service hours. And you can go more than welcome to pick this up over here at the counter, or the social science teacher has it, or we have it in front. Yes.
Another question from the chat. When will we have confirmation if our child will walk during graduation?
That's a good question.
So if you have seniors and you want to know whether they'll be ready for graduation to walk. So in order to walk at graduation, they need to complete all of their graduation requirements. So I met with a student yesterday and they said, what if I only have one class that I failed? No, you don't walk. Okay, you don't walk unless everything is complete and you've met all of your graduation requirements. So I believe it's May 30th where we do senior clearance. So it's the end of May. Once senior grades are done, the counselors review students' credits. We make sure that they've met all of their requirements, what we call senior clearance. Every single senior will come in through the counseling center. They'll meet with their counselor, and there's a form that we sign that say they're cleared. That's their ticket to graduation rehearsal. That's their ticket to the graduation ceremony. It's a piece of paper with the counselor's signature that says they're cleared for graduation. If they are not cleared for graduation, you will get a call. Parents will get a call from the counselor kind of explaining how many credits they were deficient and what the next steps are for them to take summer school, go to the adult school, go to alternative ed or some kind of plan in order for them to complete the remaining credits. But unfortunately, if they do have missing credits, they will not be able to walk at the graduation ceremony.
Thank you, Ms. Lawson. Another thing also to add is that, as parents, even as students, you can contact the counselor. You can contact the counselor. The seniors can even come to our office. Hey, Mr. Tran, I just want to check, am I meeting the graduation requirement at this time? Do I have enough credits? Is my community service hours in? I just want to verify that. Well, Mr. Tran, you know what? I'm getting an F in this class. How's this going to impact me for graduation? Right? So the dialogue can start now, right? To give you a preview of what to expect. So you are not blindsided. There's some seniors already coming and asking me, hey, Mr. Tran, I just want to check with you. Are we good? Are we clear? Am I having everything I need for graduation? You can do all that legwork now, okay? As students come in to see us, as parents, you can email us, you can call us to get a preview if whether your students are going to graduate or not. Please.
I think senior clearance might be June 3rd.
June 3rd.
You're right, because graduation ceremony itself is going to be Wednesday, June 5th. June 5th, Wednesday. So we do all the clearance, a few days before that.
All right.
Wow, this is a tough crowd. No, I'm kidding. Are there any other questions, please?
All right.
Yes.
Yo tengo una pregunta. Mi hijo ya terminó las primeras 30 horas de servicio comunitario, pero mi pregunta es, pues que él quiere como seguir haciendo horas de servicio en diferentes lugares ¿Qué de benéfico le pudiera traer si él hace y hace más y más horas?
So my son already has 30 hours of community services, but he wants to continue with more hours. So I would like to know what's the benefit to do more community service.
I mean, doing more, it's not bad. I mean, I've had kids that do over 100, right? It just gives them that more experience and more exposure, right? It can also benefit them when it comes to maybe applying for scholarships, for example, because one of the questions they ask on a scholarship application is that, have you done any community service hours? How much and where have you done it? For underclassmen, I recommend them doing a lot of community service hours if they can, because that also calculates into the UC application, college university application. Sometimes they're asked also as part of their criteria to look at the candidate to see if the student is a good fit for their school or not. So I can never say that do 30 hours minimum, that's it. There are some benefits to doing it, but again, it's based on the students, where they're doing it. Are they still able to do the community service, but also balance the schoolwork and the extra productivity and the sports that they have. It doesn't hurt to do more than 30 in general.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Any other questions, online chat, or no other questions? Again, so on behalf of McAlister and on behalf of the council department and on behalf of the Sweetwater High School, we want to thank you again for coming out to participate in this. I think that communication is effective. I think the information we give you is knowledge that you can help us, to get your students through the next 4 years. All right. With that being said, thank you again once again for coming. Look out for more information as for next year's chat with the counselors. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Stop recording. Turn off the camera.